Peace isn't lost in a single moment. It fades, silently. Not because the world is too loud, but because your own habits are screaming over your stillness. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need to stop the silent sabotage happening inside you, every day. In this video, we'll expose the 10 hidden habits that quietly destroy your peace, your focus, and your strength. And we'll show you how to replace them, with the clarity, control, and calm of a true Stoic. Because once you understand what's stealing your peace, you can take it back. Have you ever felt like you were gliding peacefully across a still lake, only to have that calm shattered by a single, fleeting thought? Have you ever wondered why your most serene moments can be so easily disturbed by something seemingly small? And the most unsettling part? Often, it's not the outside world creating storms, it's the tiny ripples inside us that end up rocking the boat the hardest. Picture this: you're floating across a mirror-like lake. The sky above perfectly reflected in the water below. Everything feels quiet, still, whole. A gentle breeze brushes your face. Your thoughts are soft. You're breathing slow. In that moment, you feel completely at peace, as if the chaos of the world has finally faded into silence. But then, the surface begins to shift. It might be a random memory, a creeping thought, a subtle anxiety that comes uninvited. The ripples spread. The calm breaks. And before you realize what's happening, your once steady boat starts rocking. Your balance slips. And the stillness disappears. You wonder, why did everything change so suddenly? Yes. Life throws external challenges our way: stressful jobs, unexpected losses, tough conversations. But more often than not, it's the quiet habits inside our own minds that create the first ripple. Habits so subtle and deeply ingrained that we don't even notice them, until they've already disturbed our peace. These invisible forces, the mental patterns, reactions, and self-sabotaging loops, are like unseen currents beneath the surface. They stir the water just enough to build into emotional waves that steal our sense of calm. Today, we're going to uncover 10 surprisingly common habits that slowly erode your inner peace. These aren't loud or dramatic. They're often unnoticed. But they carry a heavy price. And more importantly, we'll explore practical, mindful ways to disarm these habits, to calm the ripples before they grow into storms. If you're finding yourself nodding along, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel is your space for growing clarity, balance, and emotional resilience, one mindful step at a time. As we scroll through our feeds, these carefully curated digital snapshots slip into our minds like whispers. At first, we're just browsing, smiling faces, ocean views, milestones, celebrations. But slowly, without realizing it, a subtle, creeping voice begins to stir inside us: why doesn't my life look like that? And just like that, a quiet but powerful comparison takes root. We start questioning our own journey. Why am I not traveling more? Should I be further in my career? Why does their life seem so perfectly put together while mine feels like a work in progress? These thoughts often come not with a roar, but with a whisper. Yet they grow fast, breeding insecurity, self-doubt, and even envy. We forget that what we're seeing is a highlight reel, polished, edited, filtered, and we're comparing it to our behind-the-scenes reality, complete with bad days, messy emotions, and all the things we don't post online. As President Theodore Roosevelt wisely put it, comparison is the thief of joy. And he was right. When we measure our worth by someone else's performance, we rob ourselves of the ability to appreciate our own growth. And this isn't just philosophy, it's science. Psychological studies have shown a strong link between high social media usage and increased levels of anxiety and depression. The culprit? This very act of social comparison. The more we scroll, the more we measure. And too often, we come up short, not because we're failing, but because we are using the wrong ruler. The truth is, everyone's path is different. Their success doesn't diminish yours. But when you're constantly bombarded with images of the good life, it's easy to forget that. Now let's turn to another mental habit that quietly chips away at your peace, not by looking outward, but by looking backward. It's the heavy weight we carry when we dwell on the past. And it may be doing more damage than you think when we cling too tightly to the past. We blind ourselves to the power of the present, and the possibilities of the future. Vivid and storytelling style. Our minds often become haunted houses, echoing with what-ifs and should-haves. And the more we walk through those dusty rooms of regret, the more we miss what's unfolding right outside the window. You see, when we mentally replay our mistakes, heartbreaks, or wrong turns, we're not just reflecting, we're ruminating. And that repetitive, unproductive thinking doesn't just drain our mood, it triggers real physical consequences. Studies on rumination show that it keeps the body locked in a prolonged stress response. The stress hormones, especially cortisol, remain elevated, making it harder to relax, to sleep, and to truly feel calm. It's like carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. Each stone represents a past hurt, a failure, or a moment you wish had gone differently. And instead of setting it down, you reach into it again and again, turning those same sharp memories over in your hands, feeling their weight, reliving their sting. And while you're lost in yesterday, your energy, your most valuable currency, is being spent in a place you can no longer change. Your focus becomes blurred, your decisions less clear, because your mind isn't here, it's stuck in the loop of what's already past. But just as dwelling on the past pulls us backward, there's another habit that drags us in the opposite direction, with just as much force. Gentle lead into habit 3. Habit 3, worrying about the future. Because while reflecting on the past keeps us rooted in regret, worrying about what might happen tomorrow traps us in fear. Let's explore why this type of worry, though often disguised as preparation, can quietly rob you of joy just as powerfully. Worrying about the future might feel like preparation, but more often, it becomes a prison of our own making, vivid, faithful, and emotionally engaging. As the wise Roman philosopher Seneca observed over 2,000 years ago, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. And how deeply this still rings true today. So many of our fears never come to pass. Yet we live them in our minds repeatedly, agonizing over what might happen, playing out worst-case scenarios, as if fear could somehow shield us from fate. Meanwhile, the present, the only real moment we ever have, drifts by unnoticed, unappreciated. We exhaust ourselves emotionally and mentally, pouring energy into imagined futures while today silently fades into the background. We forget that life isn't lived in the shadows of what-ifs, it's unfolding here and now, moment by moment. But there is hope. Therapeutic approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, have proven incredibly effective in helping us break free from this cycle of future-focused anxiety. One of CBT's core principles is learning to challenge our automatic thoughts, not just believe them. It encourages us to ground ourselves in the present, to look at the actual evidence rather than assuming the worst. Are these fears based on facts, or fueled by imagination? When we pause and examine our thoughts objectively, we begin to notice the patterns, how quickly our minds jump to disaster, how rarely those fears reflect reality. CBT invites us to stop giving our fears the final word. Natural transition to habit 4, perfectionism. And speaking of thought patterns that steal our peace, Few are as sneaky, or as draining, as perfectionism. Continue storytelling tone with habit 4. Picture this: you set the bar so high for yourself that even reaching it feels like failure. Whether it's your work, your relationships, or even your hobbies, nothing is ever quite good enough. Every task becomes a test. Every interaction, a chance to fall short. This constant chase for flawlessness becomes an invisible prison, where your self-worth is tied to an impossible standard. And when perfection is the goal, any small imperfection feels like a disaster. As the insightful Voltaire once said, "The best is the enemy of the good." It's a phrase worth remembering, because when we chase perfection, we often reject progress. We overlook things that are good, meaningful, or even beautiful, simply because they aren't flawless. Worse still, this mindset creates a breeding ground for anxiety. Research has consistently shown that people with perfectionistic tendencies tend to struggle with heightened levels of stress, self-criticism, and fear of failure. Why? Because they never feel like they're doing enough, even when they're doing their best. It's like running a race with no finish line. Exhausting, isn't it? So, how can we begin to release this grip of perfectionism and give ourselves the space to grow, stumble, and still feel worthy? In the next part, we'll dive deeper into that journey. Ironically, the chase for perfection doesn't always push us forward. Sometimes, it holds us completely still. Vivid, faithful, and flowing naturally. Perfectionism, for all its intensity, often becomes the very reason we delay action. The task feels too big, the standard impossibly high, so instead of leaping in, we freeze, overthinking, overplanning, waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. This hesitation, born from fear of falling short, quietly turns into procrastination. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow, next week, when we're more ready. But readiness is elusive when perfection is the goal. And the cost? Over time, this internal pressure builds like steam in a sealed chamber. Eventually, something gives. That something is often you. The relentless pursuit of doing everything perfectly, without pause, without permission to make mistakes, can drive us straight into burnout. Not just tiredness, but true exhaustion, emotional, physical, and mental fatigue caused by prolonged stress and self-imposed expectations. It's like trying to sprint through life on an empty tank. But perfectionism isn't the only thief of peace. Sometimes, the damage comes not from what we demand of ourselves, but from what we say to ourselves, quietly, constantly. Natural transition to habit 5, negative self-talk. Let's talk about habit 5, negative self-talk. You know that little voice inside your head? The one that shows up right after a misstep and whispers, "That was stupid," or "You're never going to make it." That voice, though quiet, can be one of the most powerful forces shaping your life. This inner critic often hides in plain sight. It's been with us for so long that we mistake it for truth. But what it really is sabotage. This steady stream of harsh thoughts: "You're not good enough. You'll always fail. Why did you say that?" acts like an acid, slowly wearing away your confidence, corroding your self-worth. It becomes the background music to your day, coloring how you see yourself and how you engage with the world. And the impact runs deeper than we think. There's an old piece of wisdom, often attributed to Lao Tzu, that captures this perfectly. Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. It's a reminder of the immense power our thoughts hold. They are the seeds of everything we become. If those seeds are poisoned by negativity, What kind of harvest can we expect? But here's the good news, you can change the narrative. Psychologists have long studied the effects of self-talk. And the findings are powerful. One proven method: positive self-affirmation. By consciously replacing negative scripts with encouraging, empowering statements, we can begin to shift the tone of our inner voice. This isn't about empty cheerleading, it's about deliberate, consistent retraining of the mind. Over time, this new internal dialogue reduces stress, lifts our mood, and restores a sense of calm and self-belief. So what happens when we begin to speak to ourselves with kindness? What else changes when our inner voice becomes our ally instead of our enemy? In the next part, we'll explore yet another quiet habit that drains our peace, one that thrives in the background, yet holds great power, once we begin to shift the way we speak to ourselves. There's another layer to uncover, the way we hold on to what others have done to us. Let's talk about habit 6, holding on to grudges. Imagine someone deeply hurt you. Maybe they betrayed your trust, dismissed your feelings, or left you wounded in ways that words can't fully explain. It's natural to feel anger, to feel wronged. But holding on to that pain, day after day, week after week, is like carrying an invisible weight on your shoulders. You may not see it, but you feel it. It tightens your posture, drains your energy, and casts a shadow over even the brightest parts of your life. That unspoken heaviness seeps into your conversations, dulls your laughter, and colors how you see the world, and others. It's like walking through life with a fog over your heart. And here's the hard truth: while it may feel like we're punishing the one who hurt us by holding on to the grudge, the only one truly suffering is us. As Louis B. Smedes once said so powerfully, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. Those words echo with a quiet, undeniable truth. Unforgiveness doesn't bind the offender, it binds the offended. It locks us in a loop of bitterness and pain. A mental replay of what happened, what should have been said, what was never made right. And each time we relive it, we feed the very wound we want to heal. Now, forgiveness isn't about pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's not about condoning betrayal or excusing cruelty. Rather, it's about choosing freedom over bondage. It's an act of personal courage, a gift you give yourself, not them. And science supports what ancient wisdom has taught for centuries. Studies from psychology, neuroscience, and even cardiology have shown that people who actively practice forgiveness experience significant mental and physical benefits. Lower levels of stress hormones, decreased rates of anxiety and depression, even measurable improvements in heart health. Yes, your heart, in the literal sense, beats stronger when you stop carrying emotional poison. Letting go of resentment is like finally setting down a boulder you didn't realize you'd been dragging behind you. It creates space. Space for clarity. Space for peace. And most importantly, space for healing. But sometimes, even when we want to forgive, we find ourselves stuck, because of another hidden habit that keeps us spinning, the fear of disappointing others. Let's explore why this one, too, quietly robs us of inner peace once we release the weight of resentment. There's something else we often overlook, something even more personal, our own unmet needs. Habit 7, ignoring your needs. Imagine your body and mind as the foundation of a peaceful life, like the base of a strong, stable home. Now imagine slowly allowing cracks to form in that foundation. A skipped meal here, a sleepless night there, ignored emotions piling up like unread messages. Over time, those cracks deepen, and what once felt solid begins to wobble. That's exactly what happens when we neglect ourselves. Ignoring your needs doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes, it's subtle, staying up too late to finish one more task, brushing off emotional exhaustion, or constantly saying yes to others while saying no to yourself. Over time, this kind of self-neglect creates an invisible instability. It weakens your structure from within. And the result? You find yourself more irritable, more anxious, less able to handle everyday challenges. Your peace of mind starts slipping, not because of a major event, but because you've slowly drained your own reserves. As the Buddha wisely said, take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. But this isn't just about your physical health. It's about recognizing the deep, interconnected relationship between your physical state, your emotional strength, and your mental clarity. When your body is run down, your mind becomes foggy, your patience shortens, your motivation fades. Small stresses start to feel like mountains. But here's the beautiful part, self-care isn't selfish. It's sustaining. Whether it's enjoying a warm bath, walking in the fresh air, painting for joy instead of productivity, or simply honoring your need for rest, these small acts are forms of emotional maintenance. They're the way we keep our foundation strong. And the science backs it up. Research consistently shows that those who engage in regular self-care practices experience significantly reduced stress levels, improved mood, and greater emotional resilience. That means they don't just feel better, they bounce back faster. They face life with steadier hands and clearer minds. So the next time you feel guilty for resting or pausing, remember, you're not wasting time. You're rebuilding your strength. You're protecting your peace. And yet, even with all this awareness, there's one more habit that quietly chips away at us from within, one that many of us carry without realizing, the fear of disappointing others. Let's unpack how that fear can quietly override our inner compass and steal our serenity even when we begin to meet our own needs. There's often another force pulling us off balance, our need to stay in control of everything. Habit 8, trying to control everything. Picture yourself standing on a beach, holding a handful of sand. You tighten your grip, desperate not to lose it. But the tighter you squeeze, the more the grains slip through your fingers, falling, scattering, gone. That's what trying to control everything feels like. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. It flows with change, twists, surprises, both beautiful and difficult. Yet so often, we find ourselves trying to manage it all. Every outcome, every decision, every person's response. We tighten our grip, hoping that if we plan perfectly or worry hard enough, we can prevent the unexpected. But instead of peace, we find frustration, anxiety, burnout. It's like swimming upstream against a current that will never stop pushing back. No matter how strong you are, the fight is exhausting, and in many cases, futile. The Serenity Prayer, so simply and beautifully expressed by Reinhold Niebuhr, offers us a way out of that struggle. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. This isn't just a quote, it's a compass. It reminds us that peace isn't found in control. It's found in clarity, in knowing when to act, and when to let go. Psychological research echoes this wisdom. Time and time again, studies have shown that people who practice acceptance, the ability to recognize and release what they can't control, experience lower levels of stress and greater emotional resilience. They're not giving up. They're choosing where to focus their strength. Because when we stop clinging to what's beyond our reach, we free up the mental and emotional energy we've been wasting. We can redirect it to what is within our power, our mindset, our responses, our actions. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Natural transition to habit 9, multitasking. But sometimes, even when we learn to let go of the big things, We create stress in subtler ways, like trying to do too many small things at once. Let's talk about habit 9, multitasking, and why it may be quietly draining your energy more than you realize. We've seen how trying to control everything can leave us exhausted, but there's another subtle habit that drains our energy day by day, doing too many things at once, without ever fully showing up to any of them at first glance. Multitasking seems like a modern superpower. Juggling emails while attending a meeting, responding to texts while cooking, listening to a podcast while scrolling social media, it all feels like we're doing more in less time. But here's the truth, every time we switch between tasks, even if it's just for a second, our brain pays a price. This rapid toggling forces the mind to reset and reload over and over again, draining our mental energy far more than we realize. It's like driving in heavy traffic, constantly hitting the brakes, then accelerating again. Not only does it wear you out faster, but it also gets you nowhere more efficiently. There's an old proverb that captures this perfectly: the one who chases two rabbits catches neither. Divided attention doesn't just slow us down, it reduces our ability to go deep. We skim the surface of everything and master nothing. And that, in turn, leaves us feeling scattered, incomplete, and mentally tired. Cognitive science confirms what many of us sense but ignore: our brains aren't wired for true multitasking. What we are actually doing is task switching, and with each switch comes a cognitive cost. Errors increase, focus drops, fatigue builds. But when you commit to one task at a time, really focus, you allow your brain to dive deeper. You make fewer mistakes. You finish faster than you think. And there's something deeply satisfying about giving your full presence to one thing and completing it well. Even more than that, this type of focused engagement brings a sense of calm and clarity. It slows your inner pace, quiets the mental noise, and leaves you feeling more grounded, more capable. Lead into habit 10, lack of boundaries. But sometimes, our ability to focus isn't just disrupted by multitasking, it's pushed aside by the expectations of others. Let's explore habit 10, lack of boundaries, and how saying yes too often can slowly empty your well of peace. Our ability to focus and stay centered isn't just about silencing distractions, it also requires protecting our time, space, and energy from being constantly pulled in every direction. Habit 10, lack of boundaries. Imagine yourself as a vessel with a clear, finite capacity. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you pour a little more from that vessel. Say yes again, and before long, there's nothing left for you. That's what it feels like to live without boundaries. You end up stretched too thin, depleted, running on fumes, with barely any energy left for the things that truly nourish your spirit and bring you joy. Setting boundaries isn't always easy. In fact, it can feel downright uncomfortable, especially if you're afraid of letting others down. But as author and researcher Brené Brown so wisely said, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. That quote holds so much truth. Because boundary setting isn't about being cold, distant, or selfish. It's about self-respect. It's about saying, my needs matter too. When you draw healthy boundaries, you're not pushing people away, you're simply protecting your emotional landscape. You're telling the world, this is where I end, and where my peace begins. Psychological research strongly supports this. Studies show that clear, respectful boundaries are essential for healthy relationships, and equally essential for mental well-being. They reduce feelings of being overwhelmed or taken for granted, and instead foster empowerment, balance, and clarity. When you learn to say no without guilt, when you communicate your limits with kindness and firmness, you reclaim control over your life. You create space to breathe, and you begin to build a peaceful existence not by accident, but by choice. Closing message, encouragement and call to action. Protecting your peace of mind is not a one-time act, it's a daily practice. A process. A commitment to choosing calm over chaos. Presence over pressure. Self-worth over self-sacrifice. By recognizing and gently stepping away from these 10 common habits, you begin to reclaim your serenity, bit by bit. Breath by breath. Remember, this journey isn't about being perfect. It's about being mindful. It's about showing up for yourself with patience, compassion, and awareness. If these insights resonated with you, give this video a thumbs up, and consider sharing it with someone who might need this reminder too. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindful Growth for more guidance, inspiration, and tools to help you nurture your inner calm and create a life rooted in clarity and intention. Stay kind. Stay grounded. And as always, stay mindful. You don't need to fix your whole life overnight. You only need to become aware of the ways you've been giving away your peace, piece by piece. Stop explaining yourself to people who never listen. Stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be calm. And stop thinking peace is found out there, when it's built in here. CHAMNANGUC, Tritim. Let today be the day you break the pattern. One thought, one habit, one bold act of awareness at a time. Subscribe to Stoic Insights, and join a community that doesn't chase noise. We choose stillness. We choose strength. We choose peace.